Somewhere between forgotten jungles and silent tombs, beneath ancient oceans and buried in time, lie things we were never meant to find. Objects carved by unknown hands. Machines made before machines were imagined. Whispers from civilizations barely remembered. Tonight, we are not just telling stories. We are following traces through gold dust, spinning stones, and mirrors that don't reflect. This is a slow descent into mystery, one artifact at a time. Get comfortable. Because after this, you may never see the world the same way again. It began in a quiet desert outside Chihuahua, Mexico. A teenage girl discovered two skulls in a shallow cave, one ordinary, the other not. The second skull, known later as the Starchild skull, became one of the strangest and most debated relics in modern archaeology. Its shape defied explanation, larger than a child's, lighter than bone should be, with shallow eye sockets and no frontal sinuses. When tests were run, its DNA came back partly human and partly unreadable. Scientists couldn't categorize it. It wasn't fake. It wasn't explainable. It simply didn't fit. And maybe that's why it still haunts us, because some mysteries are not meant to be solved, only observed. Far from that Mexican desert, deep within the jungles of the Yucatan Peninsula, another enigma sleeps beneath green shadows, the lost pyramid of Calakmul. Swallowed by the forest, this massive Mayan city once rivaled the greatest empires of its age. Now it stands hidden beneath vines, its stones breathing in rhythm with the jungle. Archaeologists found sealed chambers within it, rooms still heavy with humidity and secrets. Inside lay the remains of a ruler wrapped in red cinnabar, surrounded by jade masks and strange tools carved from materials unknown. Was he a king, a prophet, a god in flesh? We may never know. The forest guards its dead well. Sometimes, nature doesn't destroy what we build. She tucks it in, covers it gently, and lets it dream. Travel further east, and the desert whispers another story. The city of Tanis, Egypt's forgotten capital. Once filled with pharaohs, priests, and gold, it was slowly consumed by sand until it vanished from maps entirely. When archaeologists finally unearthed it, they found treasures untouched, tombs unlooted, statues with faces erased. Some said Tanis was cursed, a city that chose silence over discovery. The desert buried it not to destroy, but to protect its secrets. Even now, beneath the dunes, there may rest a nameless pharaoh, his story erased, his tomb waiting. Some doors, after all, are sealed for a reason. But perhaps the most haunting of all is the story of El Dorado, the Golden One. Deep in Colombia's misty hills, rituals once took place that turned men into living statues of gold. Covered in sacred dust, leaders would dive into lakes as offerings to the gods, believing they would emerge divine. One artifact remains, a small golden raft, now sitting quietly in a museum. On it, a chieftain kneels, surrounded by his people, shimmering in gold. It is the closest thing we have to proof of that myth. Perhaps El Dorado was never a city, but a state of faith, a reflection of humankind's endless desire to transcend mortality. You can't mine belief. You can only feel it. And then, there are the giants. In the remote valleys of Ecuador, after a flood washed away the soil, a farmer uncovered what he thought was driftwood. It wasn't. It was a massive jawbone, twice the size of a human's. As digging continued, they found more, ribs, femurs, vertebrae, all enormous, all real. The bones were sent to researchers, many of whom dismissed them as belonging to extinct animals. But others weren't so sure. Could these remains belong to something, or someone, lost to time? Legends from Ecuador to the Amazon speak of towering beings who once walked among men. Perhaps myth, perhaps memory. Either way, the ground still holds their silence. Across deserts, jungles, and mountains, we keep finding things that shouldn't exist, things that rewrite what we think we know. Each relic, each bone, each crumbling wall hums with a strange truth, that the past is not dead. It sleeps. And maybe, just maybe, it's dreaming of us too. So as you close your eyes tonight, remember, the world is older, stranger, and more alive than we imagine. Beneath the earth, under roots and rivers, countless stories wait, patient and quiet. Some are bones, some are gold, and some are questions that will never stop whispering. Beneath the soft soil of Ecuador, a farmer once unearthed something strange. Bones curved like the frame of a small boat, and part of a skull that didn't fit the proportions of modern man. The locals began to whisper. They remembered the old stories their grandparents had told about the Gentiles, the tall ones, the ancient ones. According to the Shua people and other indigenous tribes, these beings once walked the earth like men, but much taller. Some stories spoke of giants 8 to 10 feet tall, others even more colossal. Now, with a skeleton unearthed by time and water, those stories seem to breathe again. Photos were taken, researchers called in, and a preliminary analysis suggested that the bones might indeed be human, yet vastly outsized. The leg bone alone pointed to a person nearly 8 feet tall, biologically rare, yes, but not impossible. Then suddenly, the site was closed. Officials claimed the bones had been relocated for preservation. No further details were released. The farmer stopped speaking to the press, and the land was fenced off. Government statements cited safety concerns, and like many other discoveries before it, the finding was swallowed again by silence. This was not the first time. Thousands of miles away, in Nevada's Lovelock Cave, Guano miners in the early 1900s found mummified remains of very tall individuals, some reportedly over 7 feet in height. Neither missionaries, scholars, nor modern AI have managed to decode it. It matches no known writing on Earth, and appears on no other island or continent. Some believe it was part of a sacred oral tradition, a chant sung by priests and passed through generations. When the last of those chanters died, the meaning died with them. Others think Rongorongo proves contact between Easter Island and a lost civilization, maybe from South America, maybe from even farther across time and ocean. Only a couple dozen tablets survive today, many charred or cracked, the rest destroyed by missionaries who saw them as pagan relics. Imagine the loss: entire histories, sciences, philosophies, burned into ash. Today, those surviving fragments sit behind glass in Chile, Vienna, and Santiago, silent, mysterious, and unread. Some believe the script may still be deciphered one day. Others fear it's lost forever, like a soul trapped in wood, whispering across centuries. But the Earth hides more secrets still, not just bones or scripts, but memories of catastrophe. Deep beneath Greenland's ice, scientists drilling for climate data found something shocking: a black layer frozen in white, dating back 12,800 years. It marked the sudden return of an ice age, when Earth's climate plunged back into chaos, megafauna vanished, and entire human cultures disappeared. The dark line contains soot, iridium, and even nanodiamonds, evidence of an immense explosion, likely from a comet impact. It's a story preserved in ice, the memory of a world-ending firestorm that may have wiped out an early civilization long before ours. The Younger Dryas impact hypothesis suggests that humanity may not be the first to rise, nor the first to fall. The ice, layer by layer, remembers everything. Yet, for every photo deleted, another appears. For every discovery that disappears, a rumor takes its place. In small-town museums in Ecuador and Nevada, there might still lie fragments of these mysteries: a tibia too long, a tooth too large, labeled incorrectly, misfiled, or simply forgotten. The real mystery isn't just in the bones themselves, but in how often the world chooses to forget them. You could stand by that Ecuadorian river today, where the farmer first found the jawbone. The land looks ordinary now, a few trees, the sound of water, but somewhere beneath the soil might still rest the rest of that skeleton, waiting. Perhaps not everything ancient has been found. Perhaps not everything should be forgotten. When the Earth opens unexpectedly, it sometimes reveals more than we are prepared to believe. Far across the ocean lies another enigma: the wooden tablets of Easter Island. They look like mere pieces of old wood, cracked and darkened by time, yet they hold a voice no one has ever understood. On this remote island in the Pacific, far from the noise of cities and the light of highways, a people once carved lines of intricate symbols into wooden boards, a script known as Rongorongo. The symbols are beautiful and strange: birds, human figures, geometric shapes, all carved in a unique reverse boustrophedon style, where each line is read in alternating directions like the furrows of a plowed field. This was not decoration. It was a language, one no one can read. Neither missionaries, scholars, nor modern AI have managed to decode it. It matches no known writing on Earth, and appears on no other island or continent. Some believe it was part of a sacred oral tradition, a chant sung by priests and passed through generations. When the last of those chanters died, the meaning died with them. Others think Rongorongo proves contact between Easter Island and a lost civilization, maybe from South America, maybe from even farther across time and ocean. Only a couple dozen tablets survive today, many charred or cracked, the rest destroyed by missionaries who saw them as pagan relics. Imagine the loss: Entire histories, sciences, philosophies, burned into ash. Today, those surviving fragments sit behind glass in Chile, Vienna, and Santiago, silent, mysterious, and unread. Some believe the script may still be deciphered one day. Others fear it's lost forever, like a soul trapped in wood, whispering across centuries. But the earth hides more secrets still, not just bones or scripts, but memories of catastrophe. Deep beneath Greenland's ice, scientists drilling for climate data found something shocking. A black layer frozen in white, dating back 12,800 years. It marked the sudden return of an ice age, when Earth's climate plunged back into chaos, megafauna vanished, and entire human cultures disappeared. The dark line contains soot, iridium, and even nanodiamonds, evidence of an immense explosion, likely from a comet impact. It's a story preserved in ice, the memory of a world-ending firestorm that may have wiped out an early civilization long before ours. The Younger Dryas impact hypothesis suggests that humanity may not be the first to rise, nor the first to fall. The ice, layer by layer, remembers everything. In Mexico, another hidden wonder sleeps beneath the desert, the Cave of Crystals. Discovered accidentally by miners in 2000, it looks like something out of a dream. Colossal beams of selenite, pure and transparent, stretching 30 to 40 feet long, some weighing 50 tons. But beauty hides danger. Inside, the air burns at 136 degrees Fahrenheit with nearly 100% humidity. Minutes inside without protection can kill. These shimmering crystal swords formed slowly over 500,000 years, nurtured by the perfect balance of heat, minerals, and time. Scientists can only visit briefly in refrigerated suits. They've discovered that some crystals hold living bacteria, organisms 50,000 years old, trapped in mineral prisons. When mining stopped, the cave flooded again, sealing itself back from human hands, like nature reclaiming its masterpiece. And far away, buried beneath the jungles of Mesoamerica, archaeologists uncovered something that seems to look back, a jade mask, perfectly molded to a human face. This wasn't meant for the living. The Maya created it to guide the dead into eternity. To them, jade wasn't stone, it was life itself, the breath of the gods, eternal and pure. Each mask was crafted painstakingly, piece by piece, to mirror the features of the one it was buried with. When archaeologists opened those tombs, their torches met green faces shining back in the dark, serene, untouched by time, as if still breathing. These stories, the giants, the tablets, the black ice, the crystal caves, and the jade masks, are not just about the past. They are mirrors, reflecting how much of human history remains hidden, half buried in silence. For every mystery uncovered, another vanishes. For every truth revealed, a dozen are forgotten. Yet the earth remembers. It holds everything, our origins, our endings, our myths, waiting for those willing to listen to the whispers beneath the soil. You've just stepped into someone else's dream. One of the most famous masks ever discovered was found in the tomb of Pakal the Great, a ruler of Palenque. His jade mask was breathtaking, with almond-shaped eyes, curved brows, and a slightly open mouth. When reconstructed, it almost appears alive. Pakal died around 683 AD, yet when you look at his mask, it feels as though his spirit never truly left. These masks weren't for just anyone, only for kings, high priests, and nobles considered semi-divine. Their burials were acts of cosmic importance, surrounded by offerings, carvings, and sacred symbology. The mask wasn't merely a send-off. It was a resurrection. Many Maya believed that through ritual, the mask could allow the spirit to speak again, not in words, but through dreams, visions, and signs. That's why they were buried with obsidian mirrors, sacred stones, and other relics meant to transmit messages from the other side. Some masks weren't even placed on the face but beside the head, like an offering to the soul or perhaps a replacement in case the original was lost. Many archaeologists believe the masks themselves were seen as vessels of the soul, not just containers but continuations of life. If the body decayed, the mask endured, a second existence carved in stone. But then something strange emerged. Across several tombs, archaeologists began to notice that some masks looked nearly identical, the same sharp jawline, the same brow ridge, the same spacing of the eyes. Were these just stylistic coincidences, or were the Maya replicating a specific divine being, someone they believed would return? Some scholars whisper that these faces may have been modeled after a god, a lost ruler, or a being whose likeness carried spiritual power. In fact, certain masks from later periods resembled rulers who had died centuries earlier, suggesting the Maya were trying to preserve a spiritual lineage, not just a biological one, copying the face to keep the soul alive. Maybe they even believed the mask could bring that being back. In many burials, the jade mask was fitted tightly over the skull, pressed against bone like a second skin. Others were suspended above the face with ceremonial strings or layered one atop another, as though to contain or protect something powerful. Were they trying to keep something in, or out? Despite thousands of years underground, these masks haven't decayed. Through humidity, collapse, and erosion, the jade remains brilliant and unyielding. Some still glisten as though carved yesterday. The Maya believed jade could absorb essence, the breath soul, or ik. They thought jade could trap this sacred breath just as cenotes trap water. Some masks even had small holes near the nose or mouth, perhaps for ritual breathing, or to let the spirit's breath escape. Their eyes, often made of obsidian or shell, seem to watch back. When you gaze into them, something stirs, as though they remember. Even today, in certain Maya communities, replicas of jade masks are treated as living ancestors, used not for display but for communion with the past. When you see one behind glass, remember, it isn't just a burial relic. It's a preserved identity, a face that someone 1,000 years ago believed would one day speak again. The scepter with unknown power. In the heart of ancient Egypt, long before words like technology or electricity existed, there was a mysterious symbol repeated across tombs and temples, a tall, forked staff held by gods and kings. Most often associated with Osiris, god of the afterlife, this staff wasn't merely ceremonial. Some believe it was functional, a tool of real power. In nearly every depiction of Osiris, he's shown clutching the staff, its twin prongs rising at the top like tuning forks. Mainstream scholars call it a symbol of authority, but others argue it was a device, a resonator that harnessed vibration or sound. Ancient Egypt was obsessed with energy, of the body, the stars, and the earth itself. The great temples were built with acoustics and alignment in mind. What if the staff wasn't symbolic at all, but a tuning instrument, capable of resonance that could heal, awaken, or even move matter? In the underground temple of Abydos, the supposed resting place of Osiris, massive stones lie perfectly fitted, carved with impossible precision. Some theorists believe the staff was used in such temples to manipulate vibration, creating frequencies powerful enough to alter consciousness or even lift stone. Egyptian reliefs show figures pointing the staff forward, as though using it, not displaying it. Could this symbol have once been a technological relic, passed down from a civilization older than Egypt itself? In 1933, fragments of an unknown metal were found near Abydos, embedded in a collapsed niche. They didn't match any known Egyptian artifact, and then they vanished. Catalogued once, never seen again. The forked staff faded from depictions over time, like a memory erased. Was it hidden, lost, or deliberately buried? If found today, would we even recognize it for what it truly was? Perhaps it wasn't a symbol of power. Perhaps it was power itself, shaped into a staff that could unlock secrets of energy, resonance, and life. The statue that grows warm. In southern India, within the ancient Hoysala temples of Karnataka, there is a sculpture that behaves like no other. Among carvings of gods, beasts, and legends lies one strange relief, a winged vessel, unlike any creature or object known to Earth. Many say it resembles the Vimana, the flying chariot described in ancient Indian texts. But what makes it extraordinary isn't its shape, it's that this stone grows warm to the touch. Even when the temple remains cool, shaded for hours, untouched by sunlight, the stone still radiates warmth. It doesn't burn, but feels alive, like it's breathing heat from within. Locals speak little of it. Priests change the subject. Yet visitors from across the world come just to feel it for themselves. No scientific study has explained it. Some say it's due to minerals or air pockets. Others whisper that it's something more, a relic still holding the energy it once represented. Ancient texts describe Vimanas as flying machines powered by mysterious forces, mercury engines, controlled flight, beams of energy. The carvings, detailed and deliberate, may not be symbolic at all. Perhaps they were technical blueprints recorded in stone. In modern physics, we know that materials like quartz can store energy and memory. Could ancient builders have known this, embedding their knowledge in carvings that still hum faintly with heat centuries later? When you touch the warm carving, you can't help but wonder, is it only stone, or a sleeping machine, humming softly beneath your hand? The wheel no one could spin. In the ruins of Hampi, India, stands a monument that defies understanding. a stone chariot with two massive wheels carved so precisely they appear ready to roll. But they never have. The wheels do not turn, no matter the force. Some say they were meant to move once, not by mechanics, but by energy. Unlike decorative carvings elsewhere, this chariot feels functional, intentional. The wheels are carved separately, not fused, yet remain perfectly still, as though locked. The platform beneath is polished smooth, too smooth for erosion to explain. There are no visible tool marks, no seams. It's as if the entire structure was grown from the stone itself. Some legends claim the chariot once carried the gods. Others say it was part of a celestial mechanism, a kind of cosmic calendar. A few even whisper it was designed to resonate, that chants and sound frequencies could make it vibrate, turn, and awaken. Maybe the wheel wasn't meant to move in this world, but in another. Maybe it was a key, a lock, or a memory waiting for someone who still remembers how to use it. The cube that shouldn't exist. In 1885, a worker at a coal plant in Vöcklabruck, Austria, made an astonishing discovery. Inside a block of ancient coal, formed millions of years before humans existed, he found a small metallic cube, perfectly shaped, smooth, and symmetrical. It had sharp edges, deep grooves, and a machine-like precision that no natural process could explain. The artifact, known as the Salzburg cube or Wolfsegg iron, was pulled from coal estimated to be 20 million years old. Yet the object itself was clearly smelted metal, something that shouldn't exist from that time period. No inscriptions, no identifiable origin, just a perfectly engineered fragment of something far beyond explanation. How could a manufactured object end up sealed within prehistoric coal? Was it contamination, or evidence of something far older than human civilization? The cube, roughly the size of a fist, feels impossibly deliberate, as though it belonged to a machine. A groove runs around its middle, like it once interlocked with other parts. Some scientists dismissed it as an odd meteorite. Others quietly suggested it might be an out-of-place artifact, proof of advanced knowledge long before recorded history. It remains one of archaeology's quiet enigmas, a cube that shouldn't exist, but does. And if this one survived, hidden in the dark for eons, what other impossible objects still lie buried, waiting to remind us that our history might not be as complete as we think? The cube that shouldn't exist. In 1885, a worker at a coal plant near Vöcklabruck, Austria, uncovered something that should have been impossible. Buried inside a block of ancient coal, formed millions of years before humans walked the earth, lay a small metallic cube, perfectly shaped, smooth, and symmetrical. It wasn't a rock. It wasn't a fossil. It was iron, smelted, alloyed, and precisely engineered, as if forged by intelligent hands. Geologists determined that the coal seam where it was found dated back roughly 20 million years. So how could a manufactured object exist in an era long before humanity? The cube, known today as the Salzburg cube or Wolfsegg iron, was examined by experts, and though theories abounded, none could fully explain it. Some said it was a meteorite, others insisted it was a hoax, but the coal around it had never been disturbed, suggesting it had truly been sealed within since ancient times. It was cubic, metallic, and strangely balanced, with deep symmetrical grooves running along its surface. The precision seemed too deliberate to be random. To hold it was to feel something ancient, industrial, and alien, a fragment of a machine that didn't belong to our world or our timeline. For decades, the cube was displayed in the Salzburg Museum, drawing crowds of curious visitors. But then, quietly, it vanished from public view. Moved, archived, hidden. The official reason was simple: lack of context. But some believe it was locked away for another reason, because it didn't fit the story we tell about ourselves. What if history isn't a straight line, but a loop? What if civilizations have risen and fallen long before ours, leaving behind only impossible artifacts buried deep within the earth, waiting for someone to find them again? The cube, cold and silent, whispers that question still. Because the cube that shouldn't exist, still does. The bell that rang in silence. Centuries after the Salzburg cube was found, halfway across the world, another impossible object surfaced, one that seemed to hum with its own power. In the 1940s, deep beneath a mountain in Poland, Nazi scientists allegedly worked on a secret device known as Die Glock, the bell. Witnesses described it as a metallic, glowing object shaped like a bell, pulsing with violet light. It stood about 9 feet tall, made from an unknown heavy metal, and powered by 2 rotating cylinders filled with a mercury-like substance called Zerum 525. When activated, The bell emitted a deep, resonant vibration, but no sound. Objects placed near it decayed, plants turned to ash, and animals died instantly. The air shimmered around it, bending light as though the very fabric of reality trembled. Some researchers believe it was an early experiment in anti-gravity or electromagnetic propulsion, a technology far ahead of its time. Others think it was an attempt to manipulate time itself. Then, in 1945, as Germany collapsed, the bell disappeared. Some say it was transported to South America. Others claim it was taken by the US under Operation Paperclip, hidden in secret laboratories where its study continued for decades. But here's where the story turns stranger. In the late 1990s, archaeologists discovered a bell-shaped artifact buried beneath the soil near Wenceslas mine, the very location where Die Glock was said to have been tested. The object was fused to the rock, scorched, and crystalline. Instruments picked up a faint electromagnetic pulse, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. When removed, the artifact emitted no noise, yet those who stood near it reported feeling pressure in their ears, as though sound existed beyond the range of hearing. Scientists recorded a strange hum, not in the air, but in the ground beneath it. They called it the bell that rang in silence. Could this relic be a remnant of the Nazi experiment? Or something older, rediscovered and repurposed by those who sought its power? The markings on its surface didn't match German engineering. They resembled something more ancient, almost Mesopotamian. Some whispered that the bell was a modern recreation of a much older artifact, a technology that ancient civilizations once used to bend gravity, time, or even dimensions. If true, it would mean humanity didn't invent these ideas. We remembered them. The silent box. It wasn't just acoustically silent. It was inert, non-responsive, almost as if the space inside it resisted interaction with the world. It didn't merely fail to echo sound. It seemed to devour it. Standing near it, one could feel the air itself grow heavy and still, as though the box refused to acknowledge existence outside its own walls. The question, of course, was simple. Why would anyone build such a thing? Theories vary. Some believe it was a ritual object, a kind of ancient chamber meant to quiet the senses, to simulate the stillness of death, the earliest form of sensory deprivation. Imagine entering it. No light, no sound, only your own heartbeat and breath echoing faintly within the void. Others suggest it wasn't designed to isolate consciousness, but to contain something, not sound, but something older and more dangerous. Some even call it a vessel, a prison for an energy or presence that the ancients feared. A more fringe idea proposes that the box was a kind of ancient machine, a sound-based device built not to amplify vibration, but to cancel it. A technology designed by a civilization that understood resonance, frequency, and perception on a level modern science is only beginning to explore. They say if you stand near it long enough, you begin to feel strange, as if time slows, as if your body begins to shrink into the space around you. One visitor described it as falling inward. Those who dared to sit inside reported something even more chilling, the feeling of being watched. Not by something outside, but from within the box itself. A presence, silent, formless, yet undeniably aware. One researcher lasted just 90 seconds before stumbling out, pale and trembling. When asked what he felt, he only whispered, "It doesn't want me in there." Today, the box remains underground, too heavy to move, too strange to forget. Some believe it's a message from the past, proof that the ancients knew how to manipulate sound and human perception in ways we still cannot explain. Others think it's not human at all, a relic left behind by something that once walked this world before us. Whatever it is, the box possesses one power that almost nothing else on Earth has ever achieved: perfect, total, unnatural silence. And within that silence lies a mystery that refuses to echo back. The coin with the wrong emperor. In the world of archaeology, coins are among the most reliable storytellers. They preserve faces, names, dynasties, each one a snapshot of a moment in time. Which is why a single coin can sometimes shake the entire foundation of history. This one did. It wasn't found in a grand tomb or a royal treasury, but in a modest private collection in Europe, buried among hundreds of ordinary Roman coins. At first glance, it seemed unremarkable, bronze alloy, slightly worn, typical for the mid-3rd century. But when examined closely, something was wrong. The man stamped on the coin wore the laurel crown of an emperor. His features were realistic, stern, commanding. Yet the inscription, the name around the rim, matched no known emperor in all of Rome's recorded history. No chronicles, no statues, no carvings mention this man. There are no records of his rule, no evidence of his existence, except for this coin. The name inscribed was Spontianus. To most, it meant nothing. But to historians and numismatists, it was a thunderclap. No Spontianus had ever ruled Rome. No commander or governor bore that name. And yet the craftsmanship, the composition, and even the wear patterns all matched genuine Roman coins from the 3rd century. This wasn't a fake. It was real. Some scholars propose that it might have been minted in isolation, perhaps in Transylvania, a far-flung Roman province during a time of chaos and civil war. In the mid-3rd century, the empire nearly collapsed, fractured into dozens of splinter realms. Generals declared themselves emperors. Some ruled for months, others for days. Spontianus may have been one of these ghost rulers, a lost emperor erased from memory. The Romans had a word for this: damnatio memorii, the condemnation of memory. When a ruler was disgraced, every trace of them was destroyed. Statues toppled, inscriptions chiseled away, names forbidden. Perhaps Spontianus was not forgotten by accident, but erased deliberately. If so, this coin is more than currency. It's an act of defiance, the last surviving trace of a man the empire tried to erase. There's something haunting about holding it, about staring into the face of someone who once ruled, conquered, commanded armies, and yet vanished so completely that only a single coin remains. A ghost emperor preserved in bronze. Scientists have scanned it, analyzed it, and still, it refuses to yield its full story. It is both proof and puzzle, a reminder that even history, carved in stone and stamped in metal, can be rewritten by time. The disc we can't decode. On a windswept island in the Aegean Sea, an archaeologist digging through the ruins of the Minoan palace at Phaistos unearthed a small clay disc, a simple, palm-sized object that would become one of archaeology's most enduring enigmas. It wasn't gold or jeweled or adorned with gods. It was humble, ordinary, and impossibly strange. Both sides of the disc were covered in spirals of symbols, tiny pictographs arranged in perfect order, pressed into the clay using a set of stamps rather than carved by hand. Each symbol was deliberate: helmets, arrows, flowers, birds, tools, repeating in precise, purposeful patterns. It wasn't linear A, or linear B, or any other known script from the ancient world. It was something else entirely, a language we have never seen before, and one we still cannot read. The method itself was astonishing. Whoever made this disc invented the concept of movable type, printing, thousands of years before Gutenberg. Yet not a single other example has ever been found. No duplicates, no molds, no references. Nothing. The disc stands alone, orphaned from context, a message without a sender. Scholars have tried everything: frequency analysis, linguistic modeling, AI-driven pattern searches. Some think it's a prayer, others a calendar, a ritual, a song. A few even argue it might not be a language at all, but a code, or even a form of ancient music. Scientists found traces of impact glass, materials typically formed by meteor strikes, but the disc was perfectly smooth and uniform, machined beyond the capabilities of ancient tools. Carbon dating placed its linen wrapping at over 4,000 years old, but the disc itself was ageless. Some reported electromagnetic fluctuations when near it. Others claimed to see faint movements within its surface, shadows where no light existed. One piece of papyrus near it read only, "That which drinks the world but leaves no shadow." Finally, there was the skeleton. It was found deep within the granite quarries near Aswan, in a sealed pocket of stone. The body was perfectly preserved, modern in structure, not primitive, and carbon dated to nearly 12,000 years old. The cavity around it showed no signs of toolwork, no entry points, no fractures. The granite had not been disturbed, yet somehow a human body was inside it. Even more baffling were traces of metal within the skull, microscopic filaments of iridium and tantalum, rare elements used today in electronics. The patterns resembled fine wiring or conductive lines, branching through the cranial cavity. No one could explain how such a body came to rest within solid granite, or how metal traces came to exist within bone. The official report was quietly sealed. The pit was filled with cement and erased from record. But those who saw the scans whispered one final theory, one that echoes through Egypt's most forbidden legends, that this was not a burial, but a remnant of the first time, the mythical age when gods and men shared the earth, and when knowledge we cannot yet comprehend was commonplace. Could it be true? Some early scientists thought so. In the 17th century, Fortunio Lassetti studied these accounts and theorized that the ancients used secret chemical mixtures, slow-reacting compounds that could sustain light for ages. Others proposed lamps with hidden reservoirs or sealed environments that slowed decay. A few even suggested the ancients discovered a kind of luminescence, a flame that wasn't fire at all, but chemical glow. Yet the strangest part is that fragments of such lamps have been found: bronze cups lined with residue, sealed vessels containing traces of ashy compounds and glassy coatings, all in tombs untouched for centuries. Were these the remnants of failed experiments, or proof of a forgotten science? For the ancients, flame meant life, spirit, and eternity. To them, an eternal flame wasn't just symbolism, it was salvation, a light to guide the soul beyond death. Engineers like Heron of Alexandria even designed self-feeding lamps, powered by hidden siphons and gravity, ingenious devices that echoed the dream of perpetual light. Maybe the eternal flame was never about physics or chemistry. Maybe it was about remembrance, a promise that even in the darkness of the grave, light would endure. And perhaps that's why these stories still burn. Because deep down, we all want to believe there are lights that time cannot extinguish. The relics that shouldn't exist. In the heart of Delhi stands a pillar that defies time. Forged more than 16 centuries ago, this iron giant has faced monsoons, heat, and centuries of human touch, yet it refuses to rust. Modern steel crumbles after decades, but this ancient creation endures, gleaming softly under the Indian sun. When British engineers first examined it in the 19th century, they were stunned. The iron was bare, no paint, no oil, no coating, yet somehow impervious to decay. Later, scientists discovered a thin crystalline film on its surface, a rare compound called misoite. It had formed naturally, layer by layer, a self-protective armor born of the metal's own composition. The secret lay in its making: ancient blacksmiths who allowed phosphorus to remain in the mix, crafting iron that healed itself with time. But was it an accident, or genius forgotten? Did those long-vanished smiths know their creation would outlast empires, outlive kings, and stand while languages turned to dust? The iron pillar remains not just a monument, but a quiet whisper from the past, a message that endurance itself can be a form of perfection. Thousands of miles away, across an endless ocean, another mystery watches the world in silence. On a remote island adrift in the South Pacific, nearly 2,000 miles from the nearest continent, rise the solemn stone faces of Easter Island. The Rapa Nui people call a home, but the world knows it as a place of ghosts, of statues that seem alive. Nearly 1,000 Moai stand guard over the island, their blank eyes staring endlessly toward the horizon. Some of them once had eyes inlaid with coral and obsidian, dark pupils that reflected the sky. When their eyes were placed, they were said to awaken, to see, to feel. The people believed these giants held mana, the spiritual power of their ancestors. Each statue was a vessel, a guardian watching over the living. But something happened. The Moai fell. Their eyes were buried. Their power was silenced. When archaeologists restored a few in modern times, replacing their lost eyes, locals whispered that the statues had reawakened, their gaze heavy once again. Today, even under the blazing sun or the star-thick skies, you cannot shake the feeling that something ancient still watches you, as if those stone faces remember everything that came before. Far to the east, in the highlands of Peru, another relic tells a story not of gods, but of science before its time. In a museum in Lima, behind a sheet of glass, rests a human skull, old, brittle, but impossibly advanced. Embedded neatly into the bone is a small, rectangular plate of metal. No cracks, no trauma, no scars of violence, only precision. The bone around it has healed, meaning whoever it belonged to survived. A surgical implant. Over 1,000 years ago, ancient Peruvian surgeons practiced trepanation, drilling holes in skulls to relieve pressure or heal injury. Crude as it sounds, many survived. But this was different. A metal plate fitted with such accuracy that even modern medicine finds it hard to explain. Copper, silver, maybe something else entirely. How did they know how to do this? How to avoid infection? How to make the body accept the metal? These were not random cuts. They were deliberate, careful, refined. Some believe these procedures were reserved for warriors, shamans, or the elite, people whose lives or souls were too valuable to lose. Others whisper of a spiritual connection, metal as a bridge between the human and the divine, between flesh and eternity. The skull remains silent, but its existence alone rewrites what we thought we knew about the ancient world. Then, from the depths of the Aegean Sea, came a machine that should never have existed. It was discovered in 1901, pulled from a shipwreck near the Greek island of Antikythera. At first, it looked like a corroded lump of bronze, just another relic from a forgotten voyage. But beneath the rust and coral lay gears, dozens of them, cut with precision that wouldn't reappear for more than 1,000 years. What archaeologists uncovered was, in essence, an ancient computer. The Antikythera Mechanism could track the movement of the sun, the moon, and the planets. It could predict eclipses, chart celestial cycles, and align with the zodiac. It was a machine of intellect so advanced it rewrote the history of technology itself. The Greeks of that time had no telescopes, no modern tools, yet they built a device that modeled the heavens. Each gear turned with flawless synchronization, each dial predicting the dance of the cosmos. Who made it? Why? And how did that knowledge vanish? No other device like it has ever been found. It's as though the universe allowed a single glimpse into genius, and then sealed the secret beneath the sea. Even today, modern replicas struggle to match its precision. The mechanism remains not just a window into ancient science, but a reminder that brilliance often burns once and is lost forever. And finally, there is the enigma of the Roman Dodecahedron. Small, hollow, 12-faced, and utterly unexplained. Over 100 of them have been unearthed across northern Europe, in France, Germany, and Britain, but strangely, never in Rome itself. Each is a perfect bronze shape, its faces pierced by circular holes of varying sizes, its corners tipped with small knobs. Scholars have guessed endlessly: a measuring tool, a candlestick, a child's toy, a symbol of the cosmos. But there are no records, no inscriptions, no mention in any Roman text. They simply exist, scattered like forgotten messages across the ancient frontier. Some believe they were used for rituals, instruments of faith rather than function. Others think they were symbols of universal harmony, embodying the geometry of creation itself. Hold one in your hand, and you feel it, its weight, its symmetry, its silence. It seems to hum with meaning, even if we no longer understand it. Whatever its purpose, it was not mundane. These objects weren't built for convenience. They were built for wonder. And that's the thread connecting them all: the pillar that doesn't rust, the statues that watch, the skull that healed, the machine that predicted the stars, and the dodecahedron that speaks in silence. They come from different corners of time and earth, yet they share one truth: that the ancient world was far more complex, far more knowing, than we dare to believe. Because sometimes, the greatest mysteries aren't buried under the ground. They're standing in plain sight, waiting, watching, whispering across the ages. And maybe, the greatest mystery of all isn't what they made, but how much we've forgotten.